All right. Mic check. I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron. CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest. Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. As always, having a wonderful time. Just got back from Atlanta. Here we go back in my home office. And today I have Pandora Gosselbauer. Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
So let's start with that heck of a last name. That is like a 200-point score on Scrabble. What are your roots, Pandora?
My dad is an immigrant from Austria, so I have his last name. That's where it comes from. It's a pretty common name there, not a common name here. So I get questions about it all the time.
Yeah, it sounds exotic.
Yeah, the whole name, Pandora Gosselbauer, it's a bit of a head turner. A lot of people ask me about it. When I go get coffee, I always give a fake name because I always get too many questions about my name. So yeah, dad's from Austria and my mom is Canadian. And her family's been Canadian forever. So
yeah,
old Canadian family.
Probably also Austria, no, England or something. Yeah.
England or something. I don't know. We're not really sure.
Now, Pandora, then.
Yes.
I'm going to ask. I'm not Starbucks. I'm sorry, but what does Pandora's box? It's the legend, the myth, right? Is that the basis of that? Because Pandora was a normal name before the story of Pandora's box. It's been around a long time.
There's a lot of different reasons that my parents chose it. I think it was the only name they could agree on. My mom had a lot of crazy names to pick from. She just really liked the story. I like to believe that my name is the whole story about Pandora's box and everything. She opens up this box and all of the gross hate and nastiness, disease, all of this comes out. But in the bottom of the box is hope. So I like to view it like there's no light without darkness type of thing.
That is true. There is, for every yin, there is a yang.
Exactly.
All right, Pandora. So let's start talking about what you do. So, you recently graduated with your Weld Tech program, right?
Yeah. I went to George Brown. I graduated in April, so not that long ago.
So months ago.
Months ago.
That's crazy.
Year. Yeah.
Now let's walk that path because I'm curious. So if you don't mind me asking, you look pretty young. I'd say 21, 22.
19.
Oh man, you're even younger. So you're 19.
Yeah.
You got out of high school and you immediately went running to George Brown to sign up for welding, or what happened there?
Well, I always grew up around metalworking trades. My dad is a blacksmith and my godfather has a tool and die shop. So when I turned 14, my mom was like, you're going to go work at that tool and die shop every summer. You need to learn what a real working day is like so that you don't fool around in high school. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So I've been surrounded by the trades all my life. And I was just drawn to welding. I'm like, that looks so freaking cool. I want to do that. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So grade 12 rolls around. It's the middle of the pandemic. And I'm like, well, I've always been interested in the trades. And looking around now, I see that service industry jobs are just out the window. They're not reliable. But everyone I know who has a trades job, they're still going to work. They're still employed. They're making good money. Like, well, I might as well give it a shot. So I asked my dad if I could go into his work one day and if he could show me how to weld. I did a little bit of MIG welding. I'm like, this is so much cooler than I even imagined. I need to be doing this for the rest of my life. Like, wow. Everything about it, just the smell, the sound, how it feels. I'm like, oh, this sucks, but it's so great.
Oh, the smell of welding. It is a glorious thing. It is.
It's so nice. And metal shop in the morning, really early morning, you walk into a metal shop, she's like, it's better than a cup of coffee.
So Did your high school have a welding program? Were you like in shop class in high school before you graduated?
No, actually, my high school, I went to Riverdale Collegiate Institute in Toronto. Um, very, very academic school. We don't have any shop classes. It was
Like
very
at
like
all? Like no
no
shop?
shop class, like no woodworking, no metal shop, absolutely nothing.
Oh
No shop.
man.
Yeah. Um, so I didn't really get to do a lot of welding before I went to college. Actually, that's a lie. The summer before I went to college, I was working at a makerspace in Newmarket.
Okay.
And there was a little metal shop there. So on my breaks and stuff, I would go into the metal shop and just like mess around. I was mostly messing around with the TIG machines there. Have a lot of fun with that. Um,
TIG's a
so yeah,
tough one to start with. Like,
I don't know. It makes sense to me.
yeah.
Um,
Heat comes from here.
yeah,
Make puddle, need gas.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I watched a lot of YouTube, a lot of like weld.com, a lot of welding tips and tricks. So beginning of my education was a YouTube education. I was just sitting there being like, okay, all right, let's try that. And it didn't work. It was ugly. It was so bad at the beginning. Just
Well,
losing.
it's wonderful that these resources exist, though, really. Like, I mean, I don't know if anyone ever gets to be like a really, really good welder just from a YouTube education, but it does help when you're stuck, because you can do some quick research, right?
When you're stuck and when you're starting, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just to hear different perspectives because everyone at the end of the day is going to weld a little differently.
Yeah.
So maybe you just need that one person to explain it and then it works and it clicks. But you need to talk to those people and listen to how they do it to find that. A lot of people like they explain welding the way they learned it, and that might not work for everyone. And that definitely did not work for me.
Mhm. So you got out of high school, you're like, I want to get into the trades. Your parents sound like they were probably like supportive of this idea.
At the beginning, not so much. They thought my skills would be better suited elsewhere. I'm generally pretty
Like,
good with people, so they wanted me to get into some sort of people pleasing job, I guess.
like what's that? Like
Like,
business or something or
I don't really know.
travel agent?
I'm not sure. They were just like, you're good with people. You should work with people. I'm like, well, every job you work with people, so I don't know what you mean. So they weren't super supportive at the beginning. They were a little concerned for my safety. They're like, welding's pretty dangerous and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah, I know, but I think I'll be okay if I stay educated on what's right and what's wrong when it comes to that. But then now they're like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm glad you're liking your job and
Hmm.
you'll always have a job. There's such a high demand.
There is. I literally was going over statistics with a different group this morning about like how dire it looks for the
Yeah.
future without the welders. Like it's every research document out there is like, oh, here's another one. Oh, it's not any better. It's still bad. Like I'm hoping that there'll be one that's like, actually, we're okay, but it's not looking like that, which is good for you and your generation.
Yeah, but it's also a little scary. I know that there'll always be work for me in the future, but everything else is going to slow down when the trades slow down. Like if we can't build enough buildings or enough
Hmm.
hospitals, that's going to affect everyone in society.
Hmm.
So,
And makes things get expensive. Like I mean, if
yes.
because things are going to be really expensive while everyone's waiting for things to get built.
Yeah. And then it probably means that the tradespeople that are around are going to have to be working a lot of overtime to make up for that. So,
Hmm. Which means
with
more money for us, right?
more money, but less of a work-life balance, which is equally as important in my opinion.
What is this work-life balance you speak of? What is
Not
this
quite
exotic thing you speak of?
not quite sure yet. I'm still trying to figure that out.
All right, so tell me about the program at George Brown. So like how long was it? What did it focus on and what do you come out of the program with?
Right. It's 2 semesters. So I started in September 2021, graduated in April 2022. It covers the basics of a lot of different processes. So we did some oxyacetylene welding, some oxyfuel cutting, we did some plasma cutting, we did a lot of stick welding, we did some MIG welding, some flux core. some TIG as well. It was all mild steel except for TIG. We also did some aluminum and some stainless. And then some like basic blueprint reading classes. We also had some basic metallurgy classes and one fab class, which was really cool. At the end of the program, you have the opportunity to test for one CWB ticket. You can either do it in stick welding or MIG welding, whatever your preference is. But right
Like,
when I was
well, just one position or like a full set?
one position.
Okay.
So at the end of my program, the teachers were possibly going on strike. So a couple of my buddies and stuff from class, we actually went to a testing center before the end of school and tested for flat and horizontal stick. I passed flat. I failed horizontal. I actually failed horizontal twice. We didn't go on.
I think I was chatting with you on Instagram about that, wasn't I?
Yes. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
asking for some advice. Yeah, I passed the third time, so that's okay. It was a tricky test for me.
Horizontal is tricky, yeah.
Yeah. It's also just because the S plate is different than the other positions. Like it's a smaller gap, and I think that
5/16, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off. So yeah, it's a really great program. Just like you just get to touch every process, which is super cool. It's really short, fast, and sweet.
So with a 2-semester program, it's called a Weld Tech program. So
yeah,
I'm trying to see how it fits with other programs I've heard about where as a Weld Tech program, you either have the choice to become a welder or an inspector or a welder or something else. So why is it a Weld Tech program and not just a welder program?
well, techniques. So it's supposed to be like a foundation for continued education. My understanding of the program is that it's a stepping stone to an apprenticeship.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So it's designed for you to seek out further education. It's not designed to like make you this incredible welder or an inspector or anything like that.
And you don't have like a level 1 when you come out or anything like that. You get some hours though, I assume, from the college that go towards it.
I'm still trying to figure that out. Some people say yes, some people say no. It's not like a registered pre-apprenticeship program, so I don't know if it is going to count or not. I plan on challenging my level 1 anyways, so I'm not too concerned.
So now post school, right? You graduate. It sounds like you probably did good. Did you like scrape through, or were you like dun, 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 I'm the best?
I was actually top of the class, so I flew through everything. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed what I was doing, so I put in a lot of work. Yeah, I finished most of my assignments way before the rest of the class, which means I had a bit more freedom and was very grateful to have the opportunity to learn a few other things that I normally wouldn't. Yeah, so
as you got through all these, did you have a clear favorite? Were you like, I love stick welding, or I love MIG or flux core, or I love this position? Like a vertical up MIG can be so pretty, right? Like, I mean, there's certain ones that are that you dig. What was your favorite coming out of school that you were like, number 1, you loved it, number 2, you can nail it every time?
I don't think I can nail anything every time.
Not yet. Not yet.
I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
It's a toss-up between aluminum TIG and any position, but like flat most of the time. I haven't done any vertical or overhead with that. Or vertical stick. I love stick welding. It's so much fun. It's just a good time.
Yeah, I like stick welding too, and I am not good at aluminum TIG. I'm passable, but I'm definitely wouldn't put that as my my best attribute on a resume.
I just have a lot of fun with it. It's just
yeah.
It's an interesting puddle to watch. It's kind of goofy.
It is.
Almost it's not like brazing goofy, but
it's shiny and jiggly and
yeah. And the wells just look so nice after. Like you don't really have to do anything.
Well, if you're good at it, they do. Mine looked like gray, dirty, black, and all sorts of like, and like 500 tungsten dips. Like, oh.
there was there was a lot of that at the beginning. Um, but again, TIG was like the first process I really learned. So doing TIG aluminum made sense in my head. It was like, oh yeah, this checks out. Yeah.
So then, you finish this program, you get to cross that stage to give you your certificate, being like, congratulations, and then you got to get a job.
Yes.
So how was that? Like, was that tough, tricky?
Honestly, I was very fortunate. It was really easy. I started looking for a job when I started college. So I was applying to, at first I wanted to do a boiler making apprenticeship. So I was applying to the Boilermakers Union. And I got an interview, but then I decided that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. So I just like researched all of the places that did metal fabrication or welding in Newmarket or Toronto, because I was shifting between those two places. Made a big list, and then I just cold called. And I was like, hey, are you guys looking for someone? And I just kept on doing that. I got a couple interviews. They went all right. I didn't get any callbacks, but it's okay. I had a professor in school who I really got along with. Just fantastic guy, fantastic teacher. And where he was working was actually hiring and looking for an apprentice. So he's like, I'll put in a good word for you. And they called me and had an interview. And I was like, wow, this place is amazing. Everyone here is absolutely incredible. So I started there a week after I graduated, because I wanted to give myself 1 week of just free time and needed a break. And I've been there ever since.
So what kind of stuff do they do?
The place I work at is called Sixpenny Architectural Fabrication. And we do custom fabrication. A lot of the time it's public art pieces. So very cool, very artistic.
That's a neat job to fall into right out of school.
Yeah, it is. I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity. It's an incredible place to work.
So what's the pace like in this type of work? Is it pretty fast paced? I'd imagine there's probably quite a few fabricators then.
Yeah, we're pretty small still. We're 11 people, including the boss. And when I started, we were just 8. It's been pretty fast paced since I started. Apparently, we're in like the craziest time of the company's history. So it's just been like multiple jobs going on at the same time, just trying to get it done. Very, very busy. We also moved shops in the summer. So that was just like another layer of crazy. We're still
So when you
trying
got hired, since you're not officially a level 1, did the company agree to apprentice you to kind of help be with you for this journey? Because not all companies are that keen on apprenticing, which I have issues with. I think that you should always apprentice someone if they ask. Like, don't like why not? But were they supportive of you in your apprenticeship? And then what were like the first things they got you doing?
very, very supportive. Again, fantastic company. The boss, Dave, he's an incredible guy. He has a knack for picking interesting people to work for him.
Okay. I'm
Just
picturing like a circus now or something like
just very, very talented people with very niche interests. So it's just a great hub of unique knowledge. So he was very supportive of hiring me on as an apprentice. They were actually looking for someone. He likes to help people out when they first start their career. So great place to start. And I am doing a metal fabrication apprenticeship there. And the first couple weeks, we were in the middle of a shop move. So I was just painting the new shop. First little bit was just a lot of like grunt work, general labor, which
it's fine. Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, you got to prove yourself a little bit, right? You got to push the broom. The first thing I ever welded there was it? Some handles for some beer taps for a brewery that was next door to our old shop. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was stainless, and it's been a couple months since I did stainless, so it was.
And it turned out good?
It turned out fantastic. My first couple, they're in the scrap bin, but after I got into a flow. After I got into the flow, they were really nice welds that I was very proud of. So
So
good.
this type of work's gonna be a little bit of everything then. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you're second, like you're not even a month in and you're welding stainless already, and that's usually not something people get started off on.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I probably won't have the opportunity to master any skills just because it's always a different thing coming in the door. But that's really awesome. It's never dull. There's never a dull moment there. It's always something new. And I do get the opportunity to weld things that most first year apprentices don't. Very
Yeah.
grateful.
Now, you're young, you're just starting out, you got into the welding program, now you found this job, you seem very happy. Has there been any obstacles in these last 2 years that kind of popped up that you were perhaps not expecting or maybe hadn't even thought of that showed up and you're like, okay, this is making it a little bit tougher, or even made you second guess if it was the right
Mm.
path?
There were a lot of obstacles. Um, they weren't really unexpected. I did a lot of research before going to school and getting into the trade, and I talked to a lot of tradespeople, especially tradeswomen, to see what obstacles they had. My biggest obstacle has been my physical strength, um, pulling my weight in the shop. Like when I first started, I think I was sanding a metal panel, like a bunch of metal panels for a day or two, and I sprained my wrist doing that. Like my body was just like,
Not
nope,
toughened up yet,
yeah, it wasn't toughened up yet. So that was a bit of a setback, and that hit my ego pretty hard. I was like, is
hmm
this something that I'm even capable of? But after my wrist healed and some very targeted exercises, I'm back on track, and I haven't had issues like that again. But yeah,
Well, that's what I was going
pulling
to
my,
ask you. Like, like what was the lesson learned there that perhaps you could convey to someone else who's young? And this isn't a female thing only. This is every gender, because some people are bigger and stronger and some are not, right?
yeah,
I've worked with some very small, slight men who are probably not even 120 pounds, and they will have the same obstacles, right? So,
mm,
the risks for sure. Carpal tunnel is a big issue for welders 20 years down the road from grinding, hammering. So like wrist exercises have you learned any of these tricks now?
yeah. My advice would be like toughen up your body, but like take care of it. Lots of yoga at the
hmm
beginning and end of your
I
day.
I got my yoga mat right here.
Me too. It's right over there. Yeah, lots of yoga and listen to your body. What feels right, what doesn't. Know your limits. Don't try to ego lift. Don't try to do more than you're capable of. If you're with a good team and a good group, they will understand and look out for you.
Well, I like that eagle lift. The eagle
Yeah.
lift.
I get
Like,
caught up in that sometimes. I'm like,
well,
I
no.
gotta prove to all the guys on the floor that, I can do it too. And end of the day, that's not what's important. Taking care of yourself is what's important.
No, and I've done that. I've hurt myself at work, even being a bigger, stronger guy. I'll get into eagle lift and be like, "Oh, I can do this," and then I'll do it, and then I wake up the next day and I'm like, can't move my arm. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what did I do? And
Yeah.
like, lots of the guys that I've worked with in my life, big, or I shouldn't say guys, lots of people I've worked with in my life who are really big and strong and are always showing it off. You see them later and they're on disability because their back is screwed, their neck is
Mm.
screwed, they're on their fifth elbow surgery. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. So yeah, being smart with your body is important. And there's technology, like there's cranes and forklifts and things, right?
Exactly. Use
Like,
your brain. That's the
yeah,
muscle
there's
you should be
machines.
exercising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so like aside from your physical strength, which I see it as a plus and minus because I'm short, right? So I'm a short person, and it's always like, oh, ha ha, you can't reach on top of your fridge, right? True, but when things fall on the ground, guess who's freaking hero time, right? Like, so there's always a place. When I was started welding, I was much thinner. I would be the person that you could like send under machinery, or I could go into pipes, or I can go into small spaces. And the big people couldn't do that. So like you just finding where you fit for your body size is usually a good thing to figure out.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in between sizes. I'm a pretty tall person. I'm 5'10", so I'm around the same height as everyone else on the floor.
Yeah, yeah. You tower over me, so that's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice. It makes lifting things with other people really easy because if you're all the same height, then it's easy
Hmm.
to carry things and work together as a team. So,
Good. What
yeah.
other things may have popped up in your career other than just, the conditioning side?
I've definitely experienced my fair share of sexism.
Yeah, in the school or in the
Not in
workplace?
school and not in the workplace, but no one from my company. I've had comments from people on site and whatnot, and
Hmm.
honestly, just like other people in my life,
Just randos,
just
yeah.
randos. It's really really peculiar because a lot of the time it's women too, which I'm just like, that's
Well,
what
that
against
is a
your own team.
very yeah, that's a very interesting comment because that is something that exists. So like men can put down men, women can put down women,
Of
right?
course.
So it's just people that are jerks, I guess. At the end of the day, that's all they want to do. But when there is an obvious differentiation between demographics, it's easy to pick on it, right? So, like, if you're the only girl in a room full of men, then it's easy to say, "Oh, blah blah blah," right?
Yeah,
But it does come from all directions. It's not always where you think it's going to come from.
really does. I've got a lot of comments like before I went to school and I would tell people, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. A lot of people would be like, oh, but you want to do a man's job? Oh, but you're too pretty to weld. I'm like, what does that have to do about anything?
No one has ever said that to me. Which maybe I should think about a little more, but like, no, okay, let's just leave that because now my ego is broken. No, but it's true. Like, I mean, those comments do happen, and it's brutal.
Yeah, you learn to let them just roll off your back. Because at the end of the day, that's not going to stop me from doing what I love to do.
Hmm.
If anything, it's fuel to the fire.
There's that angle, and that's where I
Yeah,
live. I live in the don't you dare say no to me because if you say no to me, then I will 1,000,000% do it. You
yeah,
know?
that is me in a nutshell. Every time I was like, you can't do it. I'm like, watch me.
Yeah. So now that you've gotten wet behind the ears, you've been working for a few months, 6 months under your belt. How do you feel about your choice? Like, okay, now I'm in welding. Is it still as awesome as that first time you saw a MIG light up at Newmarket?
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, I'm more interested now. Everything I learn, I'm like, wow, that is so freaking cool. I can't wait to learn more about this. I can't wait to do more of this. I'm like, I get to do this for the rest of my life? Wild.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
very, very excited to be where I am.
good. Well, and you got so much ahead of you. You could be a journey person by 21 at this pace. Well,
That's
and
the
I know,
plan.
and I know other journey persons like yourselves that got in right after high school. And this is the thing that I wish high schools would explain is like you get in right after high school into a trade program. You're a journey person by 21, 22 tops, depending on where your birthday is. And like you're rolling out there making like a very established career at a super young age and you've kind of already climbed a bit of the ladder. So like it's such a win-win situation that I don't understand how we're seeing these terrible numbers of like people enrolling.
I think it's FOMO, honestly.
Mm,
Like for myself, I missed out on a lot of like the college or university experience. Because I went to a trade school in like the pandemic, so I didn't really get a lot of that. And a lot of people they just don't know what they want to do, so they just like follow their friends and be like, oh well, all my friends are going to university for this. I might as well do that as well.
mhm.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it is FOMO and just like fear of missing out on the young person experience, if you will.
And it's been like conditioned into us that we're supposed
Yeah,
to have that, right? Because, like, I mean, when I was teaching at the college, we'd have the welder. I'd teach the welding class, and it'd be graduation time, right? And I'd be like, all right, so who's going to be there for grad? Because I was usually the one that'd be up on the stage giving out the certificates and shaking the hand. And most of my class, every year, most of my class would be like, oh, what's the point of going to grad? Like, who cares, right? And it's like, well, if you went to university, it would be such a big deal, right? Like, this should be as big a deal. Your
Yeah.
parents and your uncles and your aunts and your grandparents should be just as excited to watch you walk across that stage to get that certificate in welding as it would have been for like a degree in business admin or whatever. Because you're literally next week are going to be starting to roll into the cash and with benefits and pension and all these wonderful things that you're going to get that those university students probably aren't going to see for years,
Yeah.
right? And I just don't know if we have that social backing where it's supposed to be exciting to become a tradesperson. Like, hooray, I got my journey person. Like, when another example, when I was teaching the classes, I was teaching the journey person classes, and the apprenticeship board here in Saskatchewan had these cool little red seal pins, like little brass pins. I have one here. And I was like, you guys should be making these all the time because it should be fun. When you graduate, you should get something. It
Mm.
should be like an exciting thing, not just like a yeah, whatever, you know?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I was the only one for my program to attend graduation. I was super excited. I'm like, this is insane. I'm graduating college. But
Mm-hmm.
society has told everyone that like you're not going to have a successful career unless you go to university for 4 years. You're
Yeah.
not going to make money or anything like that. And it's like that's not true. That's the opposite, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're coming out of university probably with tens of thousands of dollars of debt and a low chance of getting a high paying job right away. When you go to a trades program, you still might have debt, but there are a lot of grants and stuff from the
That's what I
government
was
at
going to
the
ask
moment.
you. Like as a female in the trades, there's usually quite a bit of equitable funding for scholarships and bursaries for women. I know many of my students in the past have gotten through school without paying for anything. Some of them even came out with like money in their pocket. So, well, one girl applied for like literally every single scholarship she could get her hands on.
Awesome.
Yeah, and when
Yeah.
she finished school, she had enough money to buy a new car, like or a new
That's
truck,
awesome.
actually. Yeah, it was awesome.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, I received one scholarship. I was part of a community robotics team. And there was a scholarship for women going into a skilled trade. It was $3,000. I was
Mhm.
one of two winners to get it, and that like helped a lot. It was awesome.
Was there any conversations in your program about the CWB? Did it ever
Yeah,
come up in your year that you were there? Because obviously we have lots of scholarships and bursaries too.
it did come up. I had a couple really great professors who told us to apply and look into all that stuff. I applied for some of George Brown's scholarships, but I didn't look into any of the CWB ones. I was just
Hmm.
swamped with other things at the time.
Yeah.
But I intend on going back to school at some point, so hopefully I'll take advantage of that.
And are you a member of the CWB Association?
I am, and I have been for a year now.
Oh, which is your chapter?
I don't even know, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I'm just a member and like I'll see posts about meetings. I think the only meetings I've actually gone to are from your chapter. So
So Toronto has a chapter. I have a
yeah,
meeting with them this week
then I
to
guess
get
that's my chapter.
yeah, because they've been kind of stagnant, so we're gonna get them up and rolling. I'm meeting with all of them this week to get a game plan. So stay tuned
I
because there
will.
should be lots of cool stuff coming up in the Toronto area. They've been kind of ignored for the last little while, and we want to make sure that they're not right. That they do get lots of activities because Toronto's got lots of welders, lots of cool
Oh my
stuff
God,
happening in
lots.
in the
Yeah.
GTA. So all right. So let's take our break now here for our advertisers. And when we get back, I want to talk to you about what it's like being a young person getting into welding and social media. I want to
Oh,
talk to you about that stuff and what those connections are. All right.
sounds good.
So if you're watching, follow along. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here on the CWB Association. I'm here with Pandora Gosselbauer. I probably said it worse this time than the first time. I practiced it, but we'll be right back after these commercials. Thank you.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we are back on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron. Thank you for being with us. On this episode, we have a freshly minted and a freshly made ingot of welder here, Pandora, who finished school in April, I think you said, and is now working at Sixpenny Fabrication, doing her stuff. That sounds pretty rad it sounds like a job that I probably couldn't even get now after 30 years. You literally got like the coolest job ever right out of school, so good for you. But, we talked a little bit earlier about YouTube and, videos. Now, where does that live in your world as a 19-year-old, woman in the trades? How does Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, how do these things fit in both the information you can access and how you reach out as well?
Hmm. Well, I started my Instagram account, my welding Instagram account, when I first started welding. That would be the summer of 2021. I just wanted to have a platform where I could track my progress and just get feedback from other welders and people in the industry, just to like put my stuff out there. I was really proud of everything I was doing. I have a lot of pride in my work, so it was nice to show that off a little bit. And just the community on there, fantastic. Like I was on my personal account and I was just scrolling, I was seeing all of these beautiful welds and these like fantastic people just talking to each other and helping each other out and talking about like, oh, what settings did you use for this? And oh, like what was your prep? And just awesome communities. I'm like, well, I need to be a part of that. So I started my account and I started following all the big names right away, reaching out to people when I needed help. Like I reached out to you a couple times for a couple different things. It's like, hey, I need to weld this. Do you have any suggestions? And I had a lot of people who I met online who really helped me.
And for the record, I replied.
Yes, very fast. Yeah, your replies are very quick.
I try to get back to everybody that DMs me. I get a lot of DMs, so I try to get back to everybody.
Very, very grateful for that. That's the thing. The welding community online, I find, is so wholesome, is so helpful. Like everyone just wants to make everyone else the best that they can be, and I really appreciate that. So that's how that fits into my life. I don't really use Facebook or TikTok or any other forms of social media. It was just Instagram, and I used to just the Insta. Yeah, I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos. Now I actually get to do it, so I don't watch as many YouTube videos. Like if I'm having a problem or like if I need to work on a specific position or whatever, then I will like Google like, oh, welding tips and tricks or weld.com. What do you got for me? And then
Well, I'm looking at your pictures right now on Instagram, and I love seeing the arrow bar pictures of like all the porosity and like well, it's good. You're like cataloging your progress, and it's good to see because that's everyone goes through it, right? No one escapes this. No one starts as just a magical welder right out of day one at school. Everyone goes through a learning curve.
Yeah.
Although, who's P Daddy? Is that your nickname in the welding world?
That's that's a nickname I gave myself at school.
Oh. I didn't think you're allowed to give yourself nicknames.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone tells me that, and it hasn't caught on yet, but
it didn't stick?
No, it did not. I still call myself that, and whenever I find something in the shop, like a cool piece of scrap metal, like I write my name on it, or sometimes I'll put P Daddy. Everyone's like, that's not a good nickname. I'm like, well, I think it's funny, but whatever.
I used to use a little picture of like a simple picture of a robot, like it looked like a little TV with antennas, a little robot head. That's how I would sign off on my work pieces. And I would always have people be like, just put your initials. Like, be normal. I'm like,
I
but don't you don't like my little robot face? Like,
I'm the same way now. I actually have a little flower with a smiley face that I put on everything. Let's see if I have. I have
so
a box
the,
of old gloves in my room,
and then
and
they know that Pandora's.
yeah, yeah. This little daisy with a smiley face is on everything, and I also exclusively write in purple Sharpie, so everyone knows it's
Oh,
mine.
and do you have a purple paint marker for your welding? They
I
do make
don't.
them.
I don't. I did not know that they made them, so I will have to look into that because
Yeah,
I need that.
just look online. They'll get them. You can get
Right.
purple paint markers. I have some somewhere here at home, but because I think I love colored. Like, here's, I don't know if you can. Here's my jar of colored markers and
Yeah,
pens.
that's
I
awesome.
I use them lots in my work because color helps me organize visually,
Me
which
too.
sounds weird, but it
I'm the same
does.
way. I'm the
Yeah.
same way. It's really nice to put everything in little categories with color.
Hmm.
Just brightens up your day. You're not
It
just looking
does. It
at
does. People think
blue
I'm
and
weird,
black
but
ink.
like even my notebook, I have like all different colors in here. But anyways, now for a young person, or I shouldn't say young person, someone that's new to welding. So if you may be 40 and decide to go to sign up for welding school tomorrow. Awesome. What are some of the, Instagram accounts? And let's narrow this down to women specifically. What are some of the Instagram accounts that are really helpful for women in the industry? Not necessarily just for like how to weld, but maybe just for support as well.
Hmm. That's so difficult. I'm horrible with names. So there's
Yeah.
so many amazing accounts that I just cannot remember. Give me a second with this one. There's a couple women's workwear brands that I think is
Hmm.
really awesome to follow. Like, oh my
And
gosh,
like I know
Cover Gals,
we've worked with Cover Gals quite a bit. Yeah.
Cover Gals, Dovetail Workwear. That might be wrong. I
Well,
should look that up.
and wearable work clothes for females has always been very tricky. You
It's
know, it's
extremely difficult.
mhm.
And again, I'm kind of in between sizes where I don't fit men's work clothes, but I also don't fit most women's work clothes. Having like a 34 inseam it's really difficult to buy work pants that are designed for a woman's body that are also super long.
Mhm.
So I normally end up going with the men's stuff, and I can get by with that. But I know there are a lot of tiny women in the trades who can't
Yeah.
find gloves or boots or anything like that. So I think it's really important to,
Well, and even just style.
yeah,
Like I mean, you want to wear something that you're comfortable in. So like if you're a flashy person or a stylish person, like you're gonna want something like Daniela, who works for me. She loves
mm,
pink. Pink is her jam. Her company's called Think Pink Welding.
that's someone you
So
should follow on Instagram.
and like she's rad. Like obviously I hired her, but like for her to find pink gloves and pink boots and pink, it's really tough, and it shouldn't be. Like even for guys, like when I go to the welding store and I look at work boots, they're all black or brown. Like, is there not a company out there that's doing like blue or yellow or
Yeah,
green or like, I mean, why not? Why can't we get colors in the world? Why does everything have to be
yeah.
some drab, oh, here's another shade of navy blue. Yay,
I completely agree with you. I also think it's a safety concern as well. Like metal shops, they're normally like everything around you is normally like black or brown, right? So having a welding jacket that's not black, I think is really important because then you can be seen. I have a green welding jacket, which is super dope. I got it off Amazon. Um, I kind of look like some of the cylinders, but that's okay, especially when I have like my yellow gloves on and everything. But that's besides the point. Yeah, it's really nice to find colorful pieces of workwear. But boots, yeah, I will exclusively only wear black boots. Like anything else is just gonna look dirty. But I understand that other people do want some pop.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, what about with the coveralls? Like, do you have to wear overalls at work, or would you look at buying something like Cover Gals, which has like the back that opens up for women, so they don't have to like undress to go to the washroom?
I would look into it. I don't know, a lot of their stuff is like super high vis and I'm not always on site and it's not like
Yeah.
something I always want to wear. I did get a pair of coveralls from Dickies, like women's Dickies coveralls. They were fantastic. They were long enough for me until I washed them and put them in the dryer. Then now they're a little too short.
Well, would you say you have a 34-inch inseam like that? That's like up to my ears. Like,
I can get away with like a 32 and stuff, but I like the 34 just because it adds a little bit of coverage over my boot.
then
I
you
don't
don't get
have
sparks in there. Yeah.
exactly. As for like dress code at work, I don't need to wear coveralls or overalls or anything like that. It's pretty relaxed as long as you're wearing like work appropriate clothing. It's all good. We have like t-shirts with our company name on it, so I wear those a lot, and then just put my welding jacket on when I'm welding.
Now, do you plan to continue to use your Instagram to, you know, kind of what's the word I'm looking for, to keep up with what's happening in your life as you proceed through welding? Like, you said you started when you started in school, and the hype and the connections. Are you looking to grow into that and maybe someday be the person people reach out to you to ask? Do you want to be an advocate?
100%. I definitely want to teach people. I've actually started a teaching role at the makerspace I used to
Oh,
work at.
really? Oh,
Yeah,
well, tell me about that. What is this makerspace? What do they do? Where is it?
this makerspace is called NewMakeIt. They're located in Newmarket, Ontario. They're an awesome little space. They have a wood shop, a metal shop, a pottery studio. They run a collection of workshops. Metal related ones would be they have a basic MIG welding workshop, which is just a 1 day crash course, which is the class
Mhm.
I recently started teaching. We also do TIG welding. We used to do plasma cutting. We're trying to get that up and going again. We also run a small like blacksmithing workshop, which is really neat.
Mhm.
There's jewelry making, woodworking. It's an incredible place for anyone who's trying to learn a little bit of anything,
So
essentially.
is it a not for profit or does a
It's a
company
not
own
for
it?
profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for profit. Yeah, great little space located in the heart of Newmarket. Very, very cute. I just started teaching 2 weeks ago, so I've only had 2 classes. They're pretty good. Some big learning lessons. Like I definitely made a
Te-
couple mistakes.
yeah, teaching is a huge learning curve, but teaching makes you better. It really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a super basic introductory crash course. So I feel really comfortable teaching it. It's just like get people comfortable with using a welder. And some people are really scared of the sparks and the sounds. So a lot of it is just like, hey, it's okay. You're going to
Mhm.
be all right. Just have
How
fun
big
with
is
it.
the space? How many welding booths do you have? How many students can you take on?
Our workshops are a max of 6 people. We don't really have any booths. We have a metal room, a metal shop. We
Mhm.
have 3 MIG welders and then 3 TIG welders. Both can also do stick. So we kind of just set that up and we'll have students like in pairs sharing a welder. So I think it's really important to watch other people weld. You learn a lot from that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So would you like to perhaps run a stick course there since you love welding stick and it sounds like they got stick machines?
I honestly would. Um, I would like to suggest that. I have a couple suggestions that I've been writing down, waiting to talk to my boss about. One of them is I want to start some stick welding classes because it's so versatile. So many people like they want to buy a welder, they don't want to deal with the gas and all of that, and they also don't want to do flux core. So I'm like,
Mhm.
you should definitely start that.
Well, and the
And
prices have come down so much for like just little IGBT boxes.
yeah, yeah, and like you don't have to worry. The only thing you need is you need a welder and you need some rod. That's it.
Yeah.
It's super accessible to just about anyone. And I think it's best process to start learning on. You get to really see that puddle um, and learn how to manipulate the puddle. And it's similar to TIG welding in a lot of ways. It's similar to MIG welding in a lot of ways. It's just like, I think it's the best starting point for anyone looking to get into welding.
Awesome. Now, do you volunteer for this or do you get paid?
I get paid, which is nice.
Wow, fancy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, it's nice.
volunteer for my not, I mean, not this job, but other things like that. I usually volunteer. But that's awesome that they even have this. Like, very few places have maker spaces I know here in Regina, we've talked about setting one up dozens of times and it's never gotten off the ground.
Yeah, it's hard, but Makerspace I've at is been running for 6 years now, 3 years at
Hmm.
its current location, and the pandemic hit it pretty hard. It's pretty difficult, but it's such a valuable space, and I think that more cities and communities should incorporate them because they're super super important. Like we have people from like all over the GTA. Some people are drive like an hour and a half to get in just so they can do what they love.
Yeah. Now, in terms of like the clients, the students that you've seen in your couple classes that you've taught, are they all over the place? You got old, young, what are the demographics like?
So far, I've only taught 2 classes, but majority of people are like over 40. I
Cool.
have some like pretty some old timers, some people who are like definitely in their like 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
A pretty good mix between men and women, honestly. Pretty good mix for welding. Uh,
Hmm.
so I think I've
More than
had
one.
more than one. Exactly. 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 Out of 9 students, 2 have been female, so
Hmm.
that's a lot considering.
Yeah, yeah. The industry's at 4% right now for females to males in the welding industry.
I
Four,
thought it was 9.
9 for all trades, four
Oh.
specifically for welding.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it
I
went
just
up.
read
I think it's supposed to hit 5 this year coming up.
I read the CWB report that came out recently about
Hmm.
like just everything that's happening and all
Everything,
the
yeah.
statistics and stuff. And what I found was so interesting and really, really inspiring is that 20% of welding apprentices are now female,
Yeah,
which is
so
a
there's
huge
lots
jump.
enrolling, yeah.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Fantastic.
Well, and that's the only way it's gonna change because like what we need, what we need as a society is for all the women like yourselves that are in the welding trades now to climb the ladder and become the supervisors and the foremans and the business owners. And I've said this on lots of shows because it's only when we have lots of women representing at the top will we truly get the buy-in at the bottom
Yeah.
where it'll start being 50-50 because it's like everyone will know of a woman who's a welder who has done very well.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be like, oh yeah, I met one once because like that's in my 30 years I've never had a female welding supervisor. I've never had a female welding boss or owner.
Yeah.
Like, and like that's weird if you think about it. Like it should have happened by now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's a lot of sexism that faced the first female welders. Like, I am so
Hmm.
grateful for every female welder and tradesperson that came before me because they really paved the path. It's the stuff I have to deal with now is super easy breezy in comparison. What
Hmm.
people even 10 years ago had to deal with going into the trades. So I hope to be at the top one day. I'd like to own my own business and I'd like to inspire young women and women of all ages to get into the trades and get their
Well, that was
hands
going to be
dirty.
my last couple questions here because we're getting to the end of the interview. But what is your vision? What's your dream? Where do you see this going? Like if you have everything line up perfectly, what's the plan?
I plan on becoming extremely qualified and educated in my craft. So after I'm done my metal fabrication apprenticeship, I'd like to do a welding apprenticeship and then a boiler making apprenticeship afterwards. I'd like to have 3 red seals. That'd be such a flex on everyone.
Hmm.
So I want to do that. And then I'd like to do,
I have 3 seals, so we're
yeah.
good.
What seals do you have?
I have a welding, I have a steel fab, and then I have a blue steel in business for trades.
Oh, very cool. Very
Hmm.
cool. Nice. Yeah, I'd like to open my own business. Before that, I'd like to go to business school, do some like
Look into
trades
the blue
management.
seal. Look into the
Okay,
blue seal program. It's business school for trades.
that's really cool. I will look
Done
into
through
it.
apprenticeship, yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd like to have my own business where I
Awesome.
just make really cool shit.
Yeah. Any
Yeah.
idea what you want to kind of make? Like, are you gonna just get out there and just tender on jobs and just try to get work, or do you have like a industry you want to service?
I'm not quite sure exactly what I want to do yet. That's why I want to do these 3 different
Hmm.
apprenticeships and I'll be able to do kind of whatever I want. Like I can do more like architectural welding, or I can do like pressurized vessels. Like I'm not quite sure. Basically,
Hmm.
I just want to something that's going to be my bread and butter. And then in all my spare time, I want to do metal sculpture or some other metal art. But I
Are
want to
you
get
into art? Are you getting into that?
Yeah, I'm thinking a lot about it. I haven't really got into it too much. My focus right now is to get my technical training
Mhm.
out of the way, and then I'd like to just have fun with it. And I always say, like, I'm an artist, metal's my medium. I want to have the bread and butter that I can just do whatever I want with art and not have to worry about, oh, is this going to sell? Is this not going to sell? Just
Yeah.
make it for me.
Good. Well, that sounds like an awesome plan. So this has been a fantastic interview. I know that you were nervous because you're like, I'm young, I just started. I'm not really sure what I can contribute, but it's important for people to hear, the voices of the youth coming up in the trades and what they're doing and how their journey's been. And it sounds like yours has been a pretty good one.
It has been a dream, honestly. It's fantastic. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for having me on. Like, I used to listen to these podcasts going into college and be like, one day I'm going to be on this podcast. So like when I heard it, like I asked, I was like, oh my God, I started crying. I was like, guys, look at this. They want me to be on the podcast. I was freaking out. I was calling all of my family.
So, normally we end the podcasts with like the time machine question, like, if you could go back in time, what would you tell yourself? But I can't do that with you because back in time is like 6 months ago, and that's not far enough for you to have that hindsight 2020 thing. So I was thinking about how to rephrase the final question, and I wanted to do this. Okay. So if you could give a piece of advice to someone in my generation, someone who's 20 to 30 years older, you're coming into our workspaces, we're the bosses, we're the foremans, we're kind of a little crusty, we're a little bit set in our ways. What would be the piece of advice that you would give us in terms of relating to your generation and the people? Because I hear it all the time in my generation, like, oh, these kids don't want to work, or oh, these kids are lazy, and I don't buy that. It's probably just a communication thing, right? So what would like us, the crusty old farts, to know? Everyone's like, what's happening?
Sorry, I was just,
Did I stump you?
no, I'm just thinking of how to
Yeah.
phrase this.
Don't.
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay.
Don't assume that someone who's young is not willing to put in the work and is there for reasons other than they love their craft. So a lot of the time, the young people who are going in, like, that's what they want to do. So just have a little faith, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be so mean and crusty.
I think the mean and crusty has its place sometimes.
Yeah, no, I
Sometimes,
agree.
know,
Yeah.
but just don't be surprised when we kick your ass,
That's awesome and well deserved, because I mean that does happen. Sooner or later the youth take over, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. Like I remember when I finally got to be a better welder than my mentors, and it's like there I'm at your level now. I finally
Yeah.
got here. It takes time, but you do get there.
Yeah.
So
I'm not there yet, but
well, you should be very proud of where you are, and you will get there, right? So, good job.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Any last shout outs or anything you want to say to anybody?
Do what you love and don't give a damn about what anyone else thinks.
There you go. No flux given. 100%. Yeah. Yeah, just
That's
do
a
what
good
you
one.
want. Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right. Well, to all the people that have been following us, thank you for watching me and Pandora chit chat about the industry and her new career. And I'm sure you're going to have all the success going forward. And please keep downloading and watching these podcasts, and we'll be trucking along. We're well into the hundreds now for episodes. Now I got 200 on my site, which will take another 2 years, but hey, I'm in it for the long haul. So thank you, Pandora, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you enjoyed the show.